All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We are diving into a completely mind-bending theory drawn directly from the work of cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman. We're going to explore the mathematically backed argument that the world you are seeing right now, the room around you, your hands, literally the device you're watching this on, isn't true reality at all. Imagine for a second that you're a character in Grand Theft Auto. You're totally oblivious to the fact that you're just a digital avatar and the actual person controlling you is sitting on a couch somewhere wearing a VR headset. You'd think the streets, the cars, the buildings around you were the absolute fundamental truth of the universe. But what if our everyday waking life is exactly like that video game? Section 1. The Reality VR Headset. You know, when you turn a steering wheel in a video game, you obviously don't see the millions of hidden voltages toggling inside the computer's processor. It's the same for us. The hard table in front of you, the steering wheel in your real car. These are just convenient fictions. They're basically just icons on a screen. There is an entire reality outside of this space-time headset that is completely unlike anything we can presently imagine, running the complex code behind the scenes. Section 2. Evolution's Ultimate Survival Hack. We kind of just assume, right, that evolution shaped our eyes and ears to show us the objective truth of the world. I mean, we think that seeing reality exactly as it truly is would give us a massive competitive advantage to survive and reproduce. It sounds completely logical. But here's the crazy part. Mathematical models of Darwinian evolution prove otherwise. The math actually shows that the probability of any sensory system evolving to see objective reality as it is exactly 0%. Not just a small chance, 0. Our scientific theories explain exactly 0% of true base reality. So, why's that? Well, seeing the raw, unfiltered truth takes way too much time and burns way too many calories. From a biological standpoint, perception is incredibly expensive. So, evolution doesn't give us the truth. It gives our avatars cheap visual hacks and shortcuts just to keep us alive long enough to reproduce. It gives us a simple user interface, not the actual underlying code of the universe. A hilarious and perfect example of this evolutionary hack from the source material is the Australian male jewel beetle. This poor guy will literally try to mate with a dimpled, brown beer bottle tossed into the dirt. Evolution didn't give the beetle a deep, objective insight into the true nature of females. It just gave it a super simple, low-energy rule. Find something dimpled, glossy, and brown. The dimples on the glass overstimulate the beetle's hardwired rules, leaving it completely trapped by its evolutionary headset. So whether we're talking about humans perceiving space-time, a bat navigating the dark using echolocation, or our confused beetle friend, we are all just operating with a specific, limited set of tools. We are all just different avatars in the game, each with a totally different headset, rendering a completely different map of reality, based purely on whatever keeps us alive. Section 3. You do not have a brain. Okay, so traditional physicalist science tells us that our physical, squishy brains generate our conscious experience. But Hoffman's mathematical models prove we need to flip this entirely. Consciousness is actually fundamental. The brain doesn't create consciousness, consciousness creates the brain. Think back to that red Mustang in a video game like GTA. That car doesn't actually exist in the game's code when you aren't looking at it, right? It only pops into existence when you turn your avatar's head to render it on your screen, on demand. According to this theory, your brain operates the exact same way. You don't actually have a physical brain until a conscious observer looks inside a skull and renders it in their space-time headset. Scientists are actually working to reverse engineer this reality code right now. They're starting to show how the laws of physics, like the speed of light and quantum mechanics, are actually projected by conscious agents existing entirely outside of space-time. Consciousness is the original software engineer. And space-time, well, that's just the game it coded. Section 4. The Infinite Intelligence. So if you and I are just rendering physical objects on the fly, and our bodies are basically just avatars running around inside a localized simulation, the huge question is, who is holding the controller? Who is the real you? The theory points to one infinite intelligence that transcends science completely. It's a single, transcendent consciousness that takes on an infinite number of forms. Because playing out all these different perspectives, with all their different physical limitations, is literally the only way an infinite, boundless being can truly explore and know itself. It's one single player playing every single character in the game simultaneously. To put that into perspective, imagine an intelligence rapidly swapping characters, like simple stickman visuals changing out every 3 seconds. 1 second, it swaps into a scientist in America, the next, an entrepreneur in Botswana, then a flying mosquito, then a confused jewel beetle. It's constantly swapping characters, looking at itself through a vast panoply of different eyeballs to experience the game from absolutely every conceivable angle. Section 5, we are all avatars. So, why do we fiercely compete? Why the stress? It's simply because we forget who we are. All of our human stress, our outsized egos, and our daily suffering come from getting completely lost in the immersion of the game. We overly identify with our tiny stickman avatars. We think we're just these fragile characters needing to prove ourselves, fight with others, and frantically compete for resources, entirely forgetting that we are the ones who invented the game in the first place. And this totally reshapes the core of almost all ancient spiritual traditions. They tell us to love our neighbor. Why? Because your neighbor actually is you, just wearing a different headset. When you show love to an enemy, you aren't doing some selfless deed for a total stranger. You're simply loving the exact same transcendent consciousness, playing out a different storyline. And what about our biggest fear? Death. This completely reframes it. What we fearfully call death is simply the player finishing a specific avatar's storyline, taking the VR headset off, and perhaps getting ready to try on another one. It is merely the end of an illusion. It is definitely not the end of the player. The sources suggest that through deep meditation, we can actually peek behind the code. By sitting in utter silence, we can drop the labels, drop the stories of our avatars, let go of all our strict scientific assumptions, and directly glimpse reality, facing reality. It's pure awareness, completely free from the headset's constraints. Because at the end of the day, you're the author, not just the character. You're not just some frail, limited character trapped inside a book trying to figure a way out. You are the author who wrote the code, built the VR headset, and created the entire universe just to experience itself. You are as